Our Washington Bureau Chief, Jacqueline Policastro, covered the President's State of the Union, and she joins us now from our D.C. headquarters with reaction from local lawmakers. Hi, Jacqueline, and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Dawn.
Now,
of course, you bet.
Yeah, there were no real policy changes outlined in the President's State of the Union address, but the President was pretty firm about one thing, and that was that he would get some things done in Washington with the power of his pen with or without the help, I should say, of Congress. Now, you were there in Washington. What was the feeling among lawmakers on Capitol Hill following his speech?
Well, Dawn, I talked to about 20 members of Congress following the president's speech, and I can tell you that not a single one of them said to me, yeah, I think it's a great idea that the president goes at this all alone. Of course, they're part of the discussion here. They're also part of the problem here. They say they want to continue to work together. The president came out in an interview after the State of the Union to CNN saying, hey, you know what? I do think that it's going to be difficult to get stuff done. He admitted that. Take a listen to Congresswoman Candace Miller. Keep in mind, she's a Republican. This is what she said about that after the State of the Union address.
The president must engage. He has to exhibit leadership here. And just saying, look, I'm not getting my way, I'm going to go do an end run around the legislative process, either through a regulatory kind of mode or just using the executive order, that is not the way the founding fathers thought that government would work.
And Jacqueline, as you mentioned, that was Republican Congresswoman from Michigan, Candace Miller. And Jacqueline, do you think that her line of thinking was divided mostly down party lines, that most of the Republicans feel the way that she feels and most of the Democrats maybe feel another kind of way and support the president?
Well, there's definitely a lot of party lines in general right now. I can say that, most Republicans I talked to agreed with what Candace Miller said, and most Democrats didn't disagree, but they certainly didn't offer any sort of applause for that idea from the president. Again, the idea is that something needs to get done, but we have, divided Congress right now. We have, a president who's saying, I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to do it alone, and so we're going to have to see what actually comes out of that.
The president also said Tuesday night that he would raise the federal minimum wage for government contract workers, and he also urged American businesses to follow suit, as we heard, at the top of the show. How are lawmakers responding to this kind of assertiveness from our commander-in-chief?
Obviously, we'll continue to push for income equality. We'll be looking for potential action on minimum wage. So those issues that affect investment in the American worker, that will have a payback to us in terms of economic growth, those are the kinds of things that I want to continue to push for.
That was Congressman Dan Kildee, now, of course, a Democrat. And most of the Democrats I've talked to say that they want this to happen. They want to raise the minimum wage. The problem is that most of the Republicans I talked to don't agree. And here's why. From Congressman Dave Camp's position, he's a Republican, chairman of the Powerful Ways and Means Committee. He says the right way to do this is to address tax reform. You have to keep in mind that only 3% of Americans actually make the minimum wage. And out of that amount, only half of them are under the age of 25. So you're talking about a small percentage of Americans actually making the federal minimum wage, and Republicans argue that that's not the real problem. It's sort of just a Democratic talking point, and there's other things that need to happen to fix income equality in our nation, and it's not the federal minimum wage.
And it's interesting, we were listening to Congressman Kildee there, and he talked about pushing for income equality. And during the State of the Union address, one of the biggest applause moments came when the president talked about leveling the playing field when it comes to women's pay. Jacqueline, I know you have a personal story about that. You were working and someone actually came up to you and talked to you about that very subject after the president made that announcement.
Yeah, Dawn, thanks for asking about that. I started this Washington Bureau 6 or 7 years ago, as a single reporter, a female, making my way through Capitol Hill, and a congresswoman did come to me after that speech, after the part of the speech about, women and income equality there, and just, the place of a woman. And she said to me, thanks for doing this. Thanks for showing other women that, you can be in a management position here. You can be in a position to hire other people here. And I happen to have 2 young ladies working inside the Capitol right now for our company. And so, it was sort of a touching moment outside of the blurred, political political lines in which we normally deal with as reporters, but it was one of those moments that really made me realize what she was thinking. And, you know, Congress right now is made up of about 20% women, 20% in the Senate and almost 20% in the House, so they do have a stronger voice right now.
And we're going to switch gears now and talk about the Olympics, which are coming up in Sochi, Russia. And I know that you were there just last year covering the G20 summit. And why don't you share some of your perspective with us on that region? And there are lots of security concerns there right now. Did you feel unsafe at all while you were there last year?
You know, I feel like it's tough to ask me that question because I don't generally feel unsafe. I'm often very much thinking about the work that I'm doing, and sometimes that notion comes last. We know that it's involved with travel to certain regions. That being said, the White House, the State Department have come out and said, hey, we know that this is a security concern. We think it's going to be outside the Ring of Steel, but it's still there. The president didn't come out again in that interview that he did with CNN just really a few days ago, saying that he believes that there is a threat, but he doesn't worry about it. He thinks, you know, he'd be more comfortable if it happened here in the United States, if the Olympics were happening here, because we'd have more control over it. But he says it's just the risk that comes with any large sporting event, and he's confident the Russians are going to take care of it.
Many thanks to you, Jacqueline Policastro, for joining us today on Newsmaker. Have a great day and have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you.